Hostile is a film about the hostile environment in the UK. It's a film that features 4 participants who tell their stories about the plight that they have regarding the hostile environment. Now, the hostile environment really is a set of policies that's been brought about by the government, and not just the Conservative government. Labour government have been involved in policies around the hostile environment too. But it's really a set of policies that are put in place for people that are deemed illegal and undocumented. The issue about the hostile environment really is that one day you can be legal and the next day illegal. Obviously, Stephen has been a huge supporter of the film and features in the film. You've been spearheading the campaign against NRPF for quite a while, including challenging Boris Johnson. What brought your attention to NRPF to begin with?
Well, it was really only when the pandemic struck that it was very forcefully raised with me. I mean, as you've said, No Recourse to Public Funds has been a feature of the system for quite a long time. I think it was introduced by the government that I was a member of. But it was hugely increased in 2012 by some changes in the law. And in particular, there is, for very many people who are here legally, I mean, you made the point at the start, we're talking about people who are illegal, not documented. Well, this is not the case at all for this group. These are people completely legal, working lawfully, obeying the law, working very, very hard often for a 10-year period. So, before the pandemic, the charity Fair Share was sending 1 tonne of food per week into Newham for charities and food banks to give to those who needed help. Once the pandemic started, they had to increase that to 20 tonnes per week because that was the scale of the need in this borough, and a big part of that increase from 1 tonne a week to 20 tonnes a week was about no recourse to public funds. There was just nothing else people could do to get the food they needed to keep themselves alive.
Yeah, like you say, the pandemic really did show cracks in our society, significant cracks in our society. And when people are left without work and they're having to rely on food banks and their children are not allowed to have free school meals, what do you do in a situation where you have no recourse to public funds?
Well, now, of course, one thing that did happen early on in the pandemic was, thanks to Marcus Rashford, he forced the government to change the rules so that children in schools with no recourse to public funds could get free school meals. And that's been an absolute lifeline, particularly because he also forced them to carry on the help from free school meals during the school holidays. So that has meant a bit of a lifeline all the way through, thanks to that change. But if we carried on with the rules as they were at the start of the pandemic, that wouldn't have happened either.
Absolutely. You talk about 2012 and that being a pivotal moment in the NRPF policy. And it was at that time that the hostile environment really did come to the forefront, and I believe it was under Theresa May, she was Home Secretary. And I think at that time, as you mentioned, people that were here on limited leave to remain were then asked to go onto this 10-year track, and by going onto this 10-year track, they then had no recourse to public funds. It was at that moment where we saw, because no recourse to public funds had been around since 1999, as you rightly say, underneath the New Labour government, Tony Blair, and it was at that moment where you saw the hostile environment really come to the forefront. One might think that no recourse to public funds is affecting a person that is come here, trafficked, illegal, undocumented, as I said before, and that is just not the case. This is your person living next door to you. This is the NHS worker that may have given you your COVID vaccine that morning. This is the student that you may see getting on the bus to go to university. It really is that broad, and I think the thing that has sort of shocked me as a filmmaker is not realising the impact that no recourse to public funds has in everyday lives, and not realising the responsibility or the lack of responsibility that the government haven't taken that responsibility. And Boris Johnson, perception was that he didn't really understand that this policy was affecting people. That's what's shocking to me, is that just to ask somebody to prove that they're heading towards destitution is pretty sickening, really. We had a question.
What is the test?
Well, I think what you have to do is provide a lot of documents to the Home Office. Bank statements showing not very much money in there, more money going out than coming in, but lots of it, not just a bank statement, but quite copious documentation.
Showing bank statements, having to reveal personal information to prove that you're heading towards destitution. That's also problematic, isn't it, Stephen? Because a lot of people don't want to reveal their financial status, their precarious status, for many reasons. The film will be a tool and a mechanism, and we hope with the film to go on the road into different communities that are suffering and struggling, and really into communities where people don't even know that this is happening. You know, where people, maybe we should go to Uxbridge, to Boris Johnson's constituency, and talk to people of Uxbridge about the No Recourse public funds policy. Maybe we should invite him to talk with him about that. Maybe that's a good idea. So we're going to different areas across London, across the country with the film, with our participants. I will be going around talking about the film and how we can help Stephen, and how we can help Ilyas, how we can help Anthony, how we can help the students, how we can help the people that are being affected by this, but also people like Stephen that are really trying.